Switzerland, but this is Ticino. So Switzerland is divided up into essentially three parts. You have the German part, the Italian part, and the French part. This is the Italian part, Switzerland, and Lugano is the city and the lake, the beautiful lake right behind me. It's been a little bit rainy today, but it's been moody. I like to say moody because we traveled throughout this entire area today. There's going to be so much cool stuff. My line that I used earlier, and I guess I could use it again, is that I'm still not sure if Switzerland's a real place. I had seen so many pictures of this area, Ticino, by the way, which is where the name Lombardi is from. At least my name Lombardi is from. You have a lot of Lombardis from northern Italy as well. But I had seen so many pictures of this area, and I'm like, no, there's no way that's real. It's too green, too perfect. You mix in a lot of the old school feel of the medieval buildings. Too pristine, it's fake. It's AI generated. And I could tell you, after traveling through here for a full day now, and we saw so many remote towns today. It's cool. Some of the most remote towns in the world, probably, because they were just in these big ravines. Saw so much of that today. I'm still not sure if Switzerland is real. But we're going to make our walk here along the shores of Lake Lugano before dinner, talking about the 49ers draft class, and not this 2024 49ers draft class specifically, but the 2023 draft class. It's been a year now. We can check in on them, and we can reset how some of these players are going to have to work in with the new crop of players and the new reality, the evolving reality of the 49ers here in 2024. The first pick that they had was late in the third round. Remember in 2023? We had to wait till the end of Friday to analyze a 49ers pick. And that was Jair Brown. And Jair Brown had an interception in the Super Bowl, and I think they're really, really excited about him. So for a third rounder, that I think they really, really wanted to make sure that first pick was able to register something productive in 2023, and Jair Brown obviously did. He still is going to have to compete here in 2024. There's a lot of uncertainty at that safety position, but the road for him is more open than it ever has been, right? Because you've got Talanoa Hufanga coming off the ACL. You have Tashawn Gibson Sr. not even on the team anymore. Yeah, the 49ers have drafted a safety in Malik Mustafa. That's why the road is also open for him, because there's uncertainty at that safety position. And I think Jair Brown is one of the more stable fixtures for the 49ers at this point at that spot. So he's going to have to continue to evolve at the NFL level. I think, again, San Francisco was happy with Jair last year. And I think there's some smooth sailing ahead for him moving forward if he can stay healthy, keep on doing what he does, and that is prey on the football, use his instincts. I mean, this was an instinctual player at Penn State, 10 interceptions over the course of 2 seasons there to finish up, led all draft prospects in that 2023 class. And I think the 49ers started seeing more of the same. You know, Jair really grew up when he was pressed into duty against Tampa Bay. Late in that game, they needed Jair Brown to step in some nickel situations in a pinch, and he made a play when Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay targeted him with obviously the hope of victimizing the rookie, and it didn't work. And I think that between that and what we saw in the Super Bowl at Jair Brown, seems like a bright future there at a position where the 49ers might still add. Would not be shocked to see them still add a veteran safety moving forward, even if it is Tashawn Gibson. I think that Justin Simmons is still available, right? So we shall absolutely see that with 49ers at safety moving forward. Next player from that 2023 draft that we have to talk about, Jake Moody. I mean, this is one where it was going to be polarizing from the start, because I don't think people really firmly are able to wrap their heads around the importance of the kicking position. They think for some reason it should be de-emphasized until the kicker starts missing. And then they're like, no, I mean, you need to invest in the kicking position. But in off-season, the kicker's not missing. So a lot of the casuals will immediately say that picking a kicker is a bad idea. But the truth of the matter is, it's something the 49ers really needed. And the other truth is, and this is something that a lot of people may not be quite ready to hear yet, but that's why I'm here, to tell you the stuff that you need to hear, not what you're ready to hear. Jake Moody had a good rookie season. Robbie Gould was starting to tail off for the 49ers, especially as far as the leg strength on some of the longer requirements went. Jake Moody was just beginning to ascend, I thought, at the end of this season. He had some of the struggles early on, starting with that game against Cleveland, but they trusted him enough to kick a very, very long field goal in that Super Bowl when they were down. It reminded me a lot of the very long field goal that they trusted Jake Moody to kick when he was in Minnesota after he had missed early. So he had a few misses, but he still made about 80% of his kicks. Still an upper half kicker as far as percentage went, and definitely had plus range that I think Kyle Shanahan wasn't quite sure that he had, especially toward the end with Robbie Gould. Now, does Moody have to take another step here in 2024? Absolutely. But you expect him to take another step. He was a rookie last season, and one of the things that people are so, the anti-Moody camp, the things they're so touchy about with Jake Moody is the blocked extra point in the Super Bowl. And to my knowledge, I haven't seen a tape breakdown of that yet. There was so much that happened in the Super Bowl that we haven't been able to, I think, fully visit with an honest discussion. But guys, it was a block. I mean, that ball was hit at the line of scrimmage. It wasn't a straight miss. Of course, you're going to want the trajectory from the kicker to be better, but this is an 11-person sport. This is a team effort, and I think that it quite obviously is such that you need to look at it that way. And also look at the fact that Moody was starting to make a lot of kicks from very long distances in clutch moments as this season went on. Flip this around. This is Lake Lugano. Those of you just joining, in the Ticino region of Switzerland. Yes, it is moody. It almost feels fake when you see some of those clouds, the wispy clouds over the mountains. Lake is nice and still today. Water's really cold. Fairly fresh snow melt from the Alps. To the west of here, you have Lake Maggiore, which is also in Switzerland. To the east of here, you have Lake Como. Really close, like 25 kilometers. So probably only about 15 to 20 miles. Got Lake Como, which is in Italy. So as far as Moody goes, I want to say jury's still out, but the jury is close to saying that Moody was a good pick. 80% of his kicks as a rookie. If he can continue to hold that steady trajectory of improvement after, some sporadic struggles during his rookie year, the 49ers are going to be more than happy with what they've gotten out of Jake Moody. They needed that kicker on the rookie deal. Robbie Gould was leaning very heavily toward a retirement. As you saw, he did retire. I think it would have taken a very, very big paycheck to keep Robbie Gould around for one more season. It didn't cost the 49ers to not have Robbie Gould around, and now they're benefiting from the fact that they have a kicker on a rookie deal instead of whatever it would have cost to keep Robbie Gould around. $5 million, 4.5, I don't know what it would have been, but Moody was obviously a whole lot cheaper. Next is Cam Latu. Now this is one where, jury's still out, and the jury definitely is not leaning toward a favorable verdict for Cam Latu. He's been sidelined as far as practice and game purposes go for almost all of his NFL career. And when we did see Cam Latu, it was ugly. It wasn't good over the few weeks of training camp in the 2023 season. He dropped so many passes. And, I predicted the 49ers would pick Latu last year, but I predicted it in the 5th round. They went up and they got him in the 3rd round. I put a whole lot more focus on Cam Latu than I think there would have been. And then he dropped all those passes in training camp, didn't look playable, hit injured reserve. He needed knee surgery. And now the 49ers still need that second tight end. It seemed like they were auditioning a lot of potential people, including at the local pro day. They brought in 3 tight ends this year. They tried to sign Brock Wright, restricted free agent, but the Lions kept him. So it's still a position of need for the 49ers. And Latu was one of the bets for tight end too. They're hoping that they could cash that lottery ticket. Obviously, they haven't been able to cash that lottery ticket, and now he still has a whole lot to prove in year 2. So I don't want to say that the jury has returned a verdict on somebody like Cam Latu, but the pressure is on starting this training camp for him. You know, Mason Pline, the undrafted rookie tight end that the 49ers pick up, he's a raw player, small school kind of guy, right? But I mean, basketball player to start college just a few years ago. But at some point, he's going to have the opportunity to show that he could stick on a 53-man roster. It might be a practice squad kind of year for somebody like that, but there still are footsteps behind Cameron Latu, or maybe even alongside of Cameron Latu, because that first showing wasn't good, and the 49ers still need that help at the tight end position. So those were their 3 third-round picks in 2023. You look at, obviously, there's nobody coming in to push Moody. Moody was the pick. Moody has, I think, performed about as expected for the 49ers. Some growing pains, but a good kicker. Jair Brown, I think the 49ers have to be happy with that, and they're going to continue to wait and see how that safety position evolves. But it looks to me like he has a good inside track for a spot with a lot of playing time at that safety position. I don't know how else they're going to construct it moving forward, so we're going to be keeping an eye on who they sign and how everything works. But with Jair Brown, it's good. And the third round pick, Cam Latu, who obviously the 49ers haven't gotten anything out of yet. So top of that draft, even though they didn't pick until early in the third round, or late in the third round, the 49ers have gotten decent production early on, and they would still like some more here as they reset the tables for 2024. In the case, again, of the safety, Jair Brown, they brought in another one in the 2024 draft, Malik Mustafa out of Wake Forest. Next, we're going to take a look at Darrell Lutter Jr. I mean, this one is really, really intriguing to me. You know, maybe on the level of Jair Brown, because Darrell Lutter Jr. missed the first couple months of the season with a deep bone bruise in his knee, but there's a buzz around him in the building that I think I haven't sensed that around a guy like Ambry Thomas, for example. It's a buzz that I think might be similar to one that surrounded Deommodore Lenoir early, but then Lenoir got a chance to play and really prove himself on the field, and he leapfrogged Ambry Thomas on the depth chart. Whether or not Darrell Lutter Jr. gets that opportunity remains to be seen, because the 49ers are as loaded at cornerback as they have been in the entire Kyle Shanahan era. So time is now for Lutter. I know that he missed a significant amount of time last year, which probably prevented him from taking a real cornerback job by the end of his rookie season. I know that he played quite a bit of special teams. I know that kick bounced off of his legs, the punt, and that doomed the 49ers, just a really bad break. I also know that they made tremendous amount of moves at cornerback over this offseason. They've brought in veterans, Isaac Yiadom, Rock Yassin. They brought in guys at the nickel position in Chase Lucas. They speak of Lutter as somebody who they want to play on the outside. They speak of him as somebody with just good adaptability, really long arms, good traits for what they want to do with the press man coverage on the outside. But with the cornerback room being as crowded as it has been, it's a real challenge for everybody, especially young players. Now, that being said, the top 4 in the room, including Yiadom, Rock Yassin, and then obviously adding Lenoir and Charvarius Ward, none of those guys are under contract beyond this season at the moment. So let's take another look at Lake Lugano here. This is awesome. Could step out onto this little pier, give you guys a little bit more of the scenery. So anyway, with the cornerbacks not being under contract anymore past this season, there definitely are roster spots to be won, not necessarily in 2024, but maybe in 2025 as the 49ers determine their long-term plans. So I think you have to keep in mind that somebody like Darrell Lutter Jr. is playing for both the short-term and the long-term this season, only his second year under contract. That's the little pier here at Lake Lugano. By the way, those of you just joining, I'm in Switzerland. I'm sure that you saw that on the title. Continuing the walk back to the hotel before, tomorrow's the flight to San Francisco. There's a lot here from Switzerland that I haven't posted yet, and I'll probably just really process a lot of things on the plane tomorrow, because it was epic here. I mean, we're talking untouched mountain countryside, some of the most spectacular scenes that you'll ever see. We're moving on to Robert Beal Jr., 5th round pick for the 49ers, and a guy that really came on toward the beginning of last season. I mean, when you talk about Beal, Chris Kasarik, you're at practice, you hear Kasarik yelling, he's happy with players who get the F off of the football. Robert Beal did that at Georgia. Didn't really have an opportunity to do it as much as the 49ers would have liked to see at Georgia, because they ran a different type of scheme at Georgia that had him dropping in the coverage. But at practice, especially in some of those drills, he was really getting off the football late in the season, and that made Chris Kasarik really happy. I was at the practices last year where I could tell that Chris Kasarik was happy with the progress that Robert Beal was making. And when you talk about a player with really good athleticism that fits, you know, not just, okay, fast 40, whatever, but good burst times, good height-weight combination, good strength metrics that fit what the 49ers want to do as far as get off at that edge position. You want speed at the edge position. Robert Beal fits all of those things. So I think they were really excited about him forcing his way onto the game day active roster by the end of last season. Now, the question is, can Robert Beal force his way onto a rotation now? And that rotation got a little bit deeper for the 49ers at defensive end. They added Leonard Floyd. They added Yetur Gross-Matos. If everybody is healthy, it almost feels like one of those final defensive end spots. It almost feels like there's a battle there waiting to be had between somebody like Drake Jackson and somebody like Robert Beal. So, I mean, everything's on the table. Jackson, former 2nd round pick, a little bit more pedigree than Beal, more playing time already under his belt than Beal, but coming off the knee injury, I don't know where he's going to be at health-wise for the start of training camp yet. We're going to check in with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch on that. And then you have Robert Beal, who has momentum coming from last season. If he can become a rotational edge rusher for the 49ers, it's a massive win. If you can find a good, athletic, rotational edge rusher on top of the veterans that the 49ers have added, I mean, a lot of guys on 2-year deals, including Floyd and Gross-Matos. If you can do that, then you have, I think, succeeded with that draft pick. Anything beyond that is gravy. And really anything, when you're in these late rounds, 5th round and beyond, anything that you get at all can be considered gravy. But I think with Robert Beal, you look at how crowded this defensive line now is with veterans, but on shorter term deals, if he can crack that rotation, 49ers will be over the moon. And you can't discount the fact that injuries are going to happen. You're not going to stay healthy 1 through 9, 1 through 8 in that defensive line rotation. So if you can get good playable snaps out of an athlete like Robert Beal, somebody that you developed over the course of a year plus, I think you're going to be in a good spot if you are the 49ers. They also picked 2 linebackers late in this 2023 draft, the one prior to this. Remember, I'm starting with the 2023 draft right now. I'm revisiting it a year down the road. I'm not giving it grades. I'm just explaining where these players might fit into the larger structure of what the 49ers are doing now, especially since they've added a 2024 NFL draft. And the 2 tight ends, the 2 linebackers are D. Winters and Jalen Graham. I've made it to downtown Lugano, by the way. This town is about the lake here in Switzerland, but they've also got the little old town, maybe where we end up going to dinner. But we will continue to walk here. Oh, nice little flower bed over there. Winters and Graham. I mean, I see this as a cutthroat competition for a linebacker spot, with Tatum Bethune also coming in, the 7th round pick in 2024 out of Florida State. He hits. We talked about Winters and Graham being good movers last year, and they ended up contributing on special teams, especially Winters there toward the end, got a little bit more time. He was the 6th round pick. Jalen Graham was the 7th round pick. That's all great and everything, but the 49ers brought in more competition now. 49ers are in a position, I think, where they, Dre Greenlaw is recovering from the Achilles. And in the case of that linebacker spot, Devondre Campbell, the veteran, is in the building to be a stopgap. But they're going to give these youngsters a chance to compete, not only for a spot on the 53 in 2024, but for one of the future linebacker spots with Greenlaw entering a contract year for the 49ers. So I see a whole heck of a lot of opportunity, and I see a lot of hungry young names now that you've added Tatum Bethune into the room. Now, people need to keep everything in perspective. San Francisco drafted Winters in the 6th and Jalen Graham in the 7th. I mean, that people are probably spoiled, and they look at this unrealistically because the 49ers got Brock Purdy in the 7th, and they've gotten a lot of good players late in the draft. But at the end of the day, it's really, really hard to add instant impact guys, just impact guys, but instant impact guys especially, onto a really good team with later round picks. So, just because they went and used another one of those darts on a linebacker this year, Tatum Bethune, doesn't mean that they've somehow fully given up on D. Winters or Jalen Graham. In fact, I think you draft those guys in the 6th and 7th round with the expectation that there could be some developmental time. They're not going to be world-beating players. They were 6th or 7th round draft picks. Not everybody's going to be the Brock Purdy of their position. And you move forward by stocking the position even more the next year. The draft is a crapshoot. It's a numbers game. So they've now had, and I'm talking about Winters and Graham, they've now had a full season to acclimate to the NFL level, get into an NFL weight room. They're going to welcome somebody who's going to have to go through that entire process over the course of this next year, and Tatum Bethune, and we'll see. Let the best man win. Again, injuries can happen. Assuming injuries do happen, the 49ers will be in a position where they're going to be happy that they've stocked up that linebacker position, especially since an injury did happen to Dre Greenlaw last year. The 49ers have to play chess and not checkers. Here we are, a chessboard on the shore of Lake Lugano in Switzerland. I'll make the first move. What's the next move? Play against myself here. Not a bad spot for a board, right? Gonna get brazen. Gonna get aggressive. There's no way that I'm gonna finish this game playing against myself. So I'm gonna have to clean up the board. But that's what it looks like right here on the lake. 49ers need to play some chess instead of checkers. And I think that, when you do draft in layers, especially as a team that's probably the best roster in the NFL right now, so it's hard to add to it. When you do draft in layers, there is an element of chess on the table. But there's also always inevitably putting the pieces back where they're supposed to be. There's inevitably a big element of chance in any NFL draft. I suppose there's some chance in chess if you're relying on having a worse opponent to play. It's not summertime yet here in Switzerland, so all these little coffee shops. I mean, this is, again, you could see the language of choice here in this area of Switzerland is Italian, and the ice cream of choice is gelato. These shops, though, not quite open, although I must say the weather is pleasant as we enter what I believe is Lugano's little park. I like this. Beautiful park right around one of the most scenic lakes in the world. Braden Willis, another player I want to talk about. Willis he was the tight end. They picked him, I think it was in the 7th round, Braden Willis. It was late in that draft. And he actually saw significant playing time down the stretch for the 49ers. So I think you've got to like what you saw from Willis. But again, the problem at tight end for San Francisco has been tight end 2 unable to deliver much of a receiving threat behind George Kittle. And Willis, I think, was a competent blocker, which is why he started playing some more for the 49ers, but they're still looking for tight end number 2 to catch the football. I mean, Charlie Werner caught 11 passes in 4 seasons. He's obviously not with the 49ers anymore. Braden Willis wasn't a receiving threat yet in year 1. So what are the 49ers going to do at tight end? We'll see if Mason Pline turns into a receiving threat. We'll see if Willis evolves in that phase of the game. But George Kittle was already a receiving threat in year 1. You have to see some sparks of it early on for there to be a truly realistic chance for somebody to explode in that phase of the game. I'm not so sure that the 49ers have seen that yet out of Braden Willis. Now, they've seen a good player, again, a good, solid, higher floor player, potentially, in terms of blocking, and that's good. I mean, he was playing for a Super Bowl contender down the stretch. That's not bad, but they're still looking for more to raise the ceiling of the offense. I think this could be a good spot to finish stuff up on the shores of Lake Lugano in Switzerland. A look back at the 49ers 2023 draft class. Ronnie Bell being the last guy that we're going to talk about, the receiver Ronnie Bell. Punt return experience, I'm not sure he's shown he could be a good punt returner. It looked a little rusty back there last year. The 49ers really pushed a lot of chips into the middle of the table with further acquisitions this offseason, including Ricky Pearsall, to make sure they got that punt returner spot battle locked in. So with Jacob Cowing joining the team, with Pearsall joining the team, Trent Taylor joining the team, he can return punts. It's going to be a dogfight for Ronnie Bell. He's going to have to make that second-year stride as a wide receiver, because if that doesn't happen, it could be tough for him to make this football team. They are loaded with a capital L, that wide receiver position. So all in all, I mean, anybody who just wants clicks and wants to just get out there, just talk for the hell of talking, we'll try to assign grades to the 2023 class, and it's just still too early. It's too early to assign grades to 2024. At least 2 years down, you have to give it at least 2 seasons to fully see how the puzzle pieces are going to fit in the larger scheme of a roster build. So I think that's where we stand right now, and the 49ers that are entering that second season. That second training camp is probably going to tell us a whole heck of a lot out of about where that 2023 class is going to fit. So will be very interesting. The last spot on this tour of Lugano is right here. It's the gate. Just a lock gate with a couple steps, but I mean, the steps just end, and it ends in a beautiful lake. I'm not really sure of the purpose here, but I guess it's artistic. I guess it's a good spot to end talking about the 49ers. I mean, we are talking about the 49ers in Switzerland, of all places, with a gate into one of the most beautiful lakes in the world. So long from Lake Lugano, Switzerland. Hope you guys enjoyed discussion of that 2023 49ers draft class.